The other thing to understand, and this is kind of soils engineering, is a lot of this fill in here is clay. Clay is a really lousy material to work with because it tends to expand when it gets wet and then shrink when it gets dry. Expand when it gets wet, shrink when it gets dry. And that takes anything you build on it and puts it all cattywampus every time it changes from wet to dry. But you deal with what you have, and what I have is clay. Alrighty, so just tamping with that little log wasn't getting us where we have to be. This is a digging spud. You need to tamp stuff down. This is really the tool for the job. And what we're talking about here is the belled out end is maybe 3 inches in diameter with a 6-foot iron bar, 1 inch in diameter. If you want to compress something, this is the thing to use. You just have to use a lot. Unfortunately, because you can see how springy it is in here, clay is just like a sponge sometimes. So you have to build a bigger foundation than you normally would have to. And it's repetitive and it's boring, but boy, it gets the job done. And you will have some biceps and shoulders when you get done doing this. You don't need to cross train, you don't need CrossFit. Shoot, you don't need a gym if you're working on a homestead. You're slinging off 40-pound bags of seed, 80-pound bags of concrete. You'll stay in shape. Let's get the thread off the end of there. There we go. Let's see how that fits. Stay. There we go. That is almost perfect. Alright, that I gotta take out and tamp the back of it. Come here. All right, let me get that last one. Stand by. All right, so I spared you the agony of watching me tamp everything down. We got the third one in going this way. I pulled this one out, tamped it down so it's level. So now I have a level surface to work on. Now we start the woodworking. Stand by. All right, we've taken some measurements now. We're going to go to the big board and work out the design so you can see where my thought process is on this whole thing. One more note. One of the reasons I love living in the South. Notice the coat is gone. The big red insulated jacket is gone. The flannel shirt is gone. This is the, I think I misspoke earlier. I think I said it was the 28th of December. It's actually 29th. It's Tuesday. Not sure what the temperature is, but standing in the sun, working, t-shirt's enough. In fact, I was starting to sweat even in a t-shirt, hauling this stuff around. So, I know some of you guys like to live in the North Woods where it's really cold and lots of snow. Not me, thank you very much. Stand by. Hi, we're back again. I'm going to go over the math and some of the design on this thing. I'm sorry about how bright the sun is, but this is all I got to work with. Now, if you look behind me, zoom in on that a little bit. Go that way. Alrighty. This is going to be the design for the bottom. We're going to have 3 sleepers laid down next to each other on the front and the back, and then 2 big timbers as beams or joists to hold them together. So what that's going to look like is farther over here. Let's see if you can see that. Not sure how well this is coming out. This is what we have. Concrete block on the bottom. This is the fence over here. We're going to have 3 sleepers on each piece of concrete. Then we're going to have the horizontal piece that holds them all together, and that locks that in. That's only 28 inches by 24 inches, so that space in the middle is just barely over 1 landscaping timber wide. All right, and then we have the platform already made, which is a bunch of landscaping timbers laid horizontally with 2 again, joists holding them together. Again, landscaping timber. This is all landscaping timbers. So now the challenge is to determine how high these posts in the middle have to be. Now, the measurements I had before are no longer valid because the height changed when I put in the concrete and dug some stuff out. So, let's talk about what we have to work with to start with. Let me come back over here a little bit. See if you can see these numbers. All right, so I measured from the ground to the bottom of where the pipe has to be going through the fence. That's 15 inches. And then I figured out that the top of the concrete is 2.5 inches below that ground level. So I have a total of 17.5 inches from the level of the concrete. Let's get over here. From the level of the concrete to the bottom of the pipe. All right, 17.5 inches. All right, so taking that 17.5 from the bottom of the pipe to the concrete, we have to, because we're going to now put the post on top of these sleepers, you have to deduct the thickness of the sleepers on the bottom, the thickness of the platform on top, because the post is going to sit on the bottom of these logs. The horizontal pieces here, these, for lack of a better term, joists, are going to be set sideways. Let's see, like here, boom, sideways, so that you can drill through with the lag bolt and hold it together. But it's going to sit on the platform, and it's going to rest on the bottom of the sleepers, on the top of the sleepers here. All right, so you subtract 2 3/4 for the sleepers on the bottom, 2 3/4 for the platform on the top. and then the 2.5 inches, which is the distance from the bottom of the pipe to the bottom of the barrel. All right, that adds up to 8 inches. So when you take your 17.5 that you know is from concrete to the pipe, subtract out those 8 inches, you're left with 9.5. So as we build this thing, we're going to keep this measurement in mind and make sure that it reflects reality when we get there. But in a perfect world, it certainly should. All right, so the next step is going to be cutting. I've already marked the landscaping timbers here in 2-foot increments. The tool that I'm using at the moment is going to be a Milwaukee battery operated Sawzall is the original name for this this tool. It's a reciprocating saw, also called a demolition saw. They are great. Make short work of these things. Move it a little bit. Normally I would use the my big chop saw, but I don't have that handy. I had that on another job, and it is nowhere near where I am at the moment, so I'm going to have to do this. Now, a reciprocating saw is not a fine tool. This does not do really fine work. This is not fine work, so. Now, if you wanted nice edges, you want to make sure these are perfectly square, then use the circular saw, flip them over, cut them again, or if you have a big chop saw like I have, you can cut them like that. For the purposes of what we're doing here, this is not a big deal. That's getting out of the picture a little bit. Let's see. Move that up a little. There you go. This is a new retaining wall that I'm building because the old one was also made with those old landscaping timbers. So while the concept is valid, using 20-year-old timbers does not give you much longevity. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 landscaping timbers. All right, so here are the 6 landscaping timbers, 2 feet long. Now I've arranged them already so that they're square. And the way you get that is by measuring the diagonals and making sure they're the same. Get in there, okay? If they're not the same, then you're not square and everything else is going to be cattywampus. So feel free to play with this as often as you need to get it exactly where you want it. There you go. Boom. Get it exactly where you want it so that that's the same length that that is. And as long as your sides are the same length, So that length equals that length. This length is cut the same length as that is. These are the same. Then this is square. Now I'm going to cut the two pieces that go on here that join everything together. So stand by. I'll show you how we do that. All right, these are going to be the pieces that go on the sleepers. Now the tool I'm going to use on this is a Milwaukee circular saw. Now like I said with the other saw, the big demo saw, that's not a very accurate cut, and if you noticed on the other pieces, they're a little bit angled. On those pieces it doesn't matter. I want these to be more square, so I'm going to use a circular saw. It can follow a straight line much more easily. Right about there. Now, the problem is it doesn't cut all the way through, so you got to flip it over, cut this side. And there's only about 1/4 of an inch out there, so holding that end up is going to be an issue, so I got to get down there. I have a line on this side, so that's handy. All right, there we go. So, it's a cleaner, straighter end. There's always a little bit of a difference between the first cut and the second cut. So you can always tell when these things are cut with a circular saw. But it's a much cleaner cut. We do the same thing over here. Now when you're doing this, understand that you are deep in the wood. It's going to tend to want to jump on you. There was a big old knot in there. Okay, so that was affecting the wood as well. So you got to be very careful to hold on to this thing. Alright. There's another knot that I didn't see. Okay, just be careful with it. There you go. So, again, a much cleaner, squarer cut. Let's go put that on where it belongs and drive in some lags. Alright, let's go lay these down. Now before I anchor anything, I'm going to check the inside dimension on this. Make sure they're parallel. Unfortunately, these are not square timbers. Landscaping timbers are rounded. It makes it a little bit more difficult to make sure that you've got everything lined up properly. Okay, and you got to square these guys up too. So that's not quite as long. Just come down to about there. Check that measurement again. Okay, there we go. Now this whole measuring thing obviously works better when you have square corners on all your wood. When you're dealing with landscaping timbers, you just got to deal with it. We're also going to check this. Alright, and it's the same width, because remember we're putting in vertical posts, so that's got to be the same width as this. So let's get some lag bolts in here. Alright, I had to get some washers. Most of the washers embedded themselves in the rotten wood so deep they can't get them out. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. So, while you can often reuse your lag bolts, washers are a different story entirely. Again, you need a quality impact wrench. The ones with the metal on the front end I have found to be way better than the ones with the plastic. Gee, go figure. Okay, one. I'm going to do the corners first, and then recheck the square. Come on. Oops. Yeah, that happens more often than you realize. There it is. Oops. Hang on. I think I just messed up square. Nope, we're still good. Okay, excellent. Come on now. There. Alrighty, we're back. The bit holder that I had been using because it got jammed from something I was doing about 2 years ago finally gave up the ghost. Those bit holders are not designed to run an impactor. You can hear the noise, the difference in sound that it makes, and that tells you that it's getting tight. You can also put your hand down there. Just be real careful you don't get it stuck. There we go. So, like when I said put your hand down there, you can feel when the log is tightening. You don't want to put your hand down there and pinch it, okay? Don't do dumb things. Best advice I ever got in the Army. Don't do dumb things. Every time I did that, I moved my fingers out a little bit to make sure they didn't get pinched. Please don't write to me and say, hey, you screwed up, I pinched my fingers. You're a dumbass. Alrighty, got two more. Oops, that's the bent one, don't want that. Grab this one. Okay, there we go. Down there. All right, so we have our base. It's solid. Now we need to cut our verticals so we can put the platform back on top of here. One of the things I'm going to do first, though, is do a common sense check on here for the height. Hole in the fence is over here. Let's see, maybe I ought to move that a little bit. I'm gonna have to come out, come up a little bit. Excuse the bumpiness. Try to make this work right. Oh, there she go. There we go. You can see it now. Okay. Here's the hole in the fence. That's where the pipe goes through. Now I don't want the pipe all the way at the bottom of this hole in case there's any shifting, so I want to have it up a little bit. But for the moment, this will give me a common sense check on how level or how correct my numbers are. So you bring the bubble where it needs to go. Try to hold your tape reasonably plumb. Reasonably plumb. Alright, I get 13 1/4. So actually, if I were to come up a little bit off the bottom of that, call it 13 3/4. Okay. So we're doing a common sense check. 13 3/4. And if you remember before, I've got 2 3/4 over here. So that's 3/4 goes away. 3/4 minus 3/4 goes away. 13 minus, what was 2 1/4, so 3 minus 2 is 11. Then you got 2 1/2 on the tank. That's another 11 to 9 to 8 1/2. What did we say over there? 9 inches. So that actually puts us a little bit higher in the hole, which is where I wanted to be. So the 9-inch measurement still makes sense. This is what I call a common sense check. Every once in a while you just make sure that the measurement still makes sense. Alright, so I need to cut 4 9-inch pieces. Stand by, we'll show you that. Alright, so we have 4 posts. Let's see, now measuring again, common sense check. Yep, 16 1/2 on the inside. And then this is 24 long all the way up. So I can get 24 inches or some subset of that. There we go. Now, I am arranging these between the logs. That way we get direct contact on 2 different landscaping timbers. The weight's coming down. Alright, you want to spread that as best you can. I could center it on 1, but if I center it over 2, then even without this to distribute the weight, I'm distributing it on 2 rather than 1. Wider distribution of weight. Also, this gets me in the middle between these 2 lag bolts. So less of a chance that when I run my lag bolt through, I'm going to hit another lag bolt. You'd be surprised how easy that is to happen. All right. Sorry, I forgot to turn the camera back on. The platform is now flush on top of our posts. I haven't anchored it yet. Had to use loosen up those lag bolts that I put in. Remember when I said that you're going to have, because you're dealing with rounded edges, you're going to pull everything out of plumb? Well, I did. So I had to loosen those back up and then pound it with a hammer, rubber mallet here, to get it to fit right. You can pound with a hammer if you have to, but I recommend a rubber mallet. Doesn't tend to split or damage the wood as much as a regular hammer does. Hammers are for pounding nails. That's it. Unless you're a blacksmith, and then you have hammers to do different things. Alrighty. Now let's see how far you have to do. I'm gonna have to put some more pipe tape on this, but right now we're just going for sizing. Okay. That should have been a little bit farther up. Okay, maybe I need to move those. Okay, this needs to be farther this way, so I'm going to move these guys up here and bring these forward. Yeah. No need to take them all the way out. Oops. Yep. Time to change batteries. Stand by. Yes, batteries do run out eventually. That's why you have multiple batteries. Right about there. These we're going to need to move forward. Yep, we need to move up there. So not lose any more of these. Washers are kind of the pacing item in my my operation here. These came actually from a project that I took apart about a year ago that had bolts and washers and nuts, and so I had them in a plastic bag in a bin inside, and I just stripped off all the washers. If I redo that project, I'd have to get more washers, but that's the way it goes. Let's try this again. Pop that on the side. go. That is a little bit too far forward. But let's see. Quick common sense check. Let's get it back in like that. That's actually a little bit too far forward. I can move the barrel back a little bit, but since I'm hanging out over here, I just move the whole thing back. That. Move the barrel, don't do it the dumb way. Come on. There. That. Sense check again. Yeah, because the barrel really needs to be back that way. So there we are. I'll get some new pipe tape on this, and we'll call it an even. So, a couple of details on how this works. We talked about these up out of the way here so I don't lose it. Obviously, you need to put pipe tape on the end of your threads here. I gotta get some of that. This fits through the fence like you saw. This is not glued on so that I can pull this water off to clean it occasionally. Now, here are the watering nipples down here. Water fills up the big pipe, chickens just kind of peck at it, water drips down, they get their water. This end also comes off, again, so I can clean it because it does occasionally get gunk in here. Now, that doesn't leak on a regular basis, but it leaks when the stupid chickens peck at it. I don't know why they do that. Sometimes they just get that wild hair and they get stupid. Chickens are stupid. And they have broken this thing open a couple of times. One of the reasons why this is in a 2-inch pipe instead of the original 3/4 inch or 1-inch pipe is because, for two reasons. Rounder or a greater diameter gives you a flatter surface for these little washers to actually waterproof the situation so they don't dribble. The second reason is it's just easier. The chickens don't beat it up as much as they did with the 3/4 inch pipe. I guess it's a visual thing, I don't know. But chickens are stupid. If you have them, you know. So, I don't know why they keep destroying their watering system, but I'll just keep repairing it. So, I'll do that. You guys don't need to see me watch me put tape on there and screw it back in. That's pretty simple. So, alrighty, let's see. So, here we are again. That's on an angle, isn't it? Yeah, that's a little bit better. Anyway, so I hope that helped. I hope that you guys understand. Whoops, I'm tripping on stuff again. I hope that helped show kind of what we do around here. If you live on a homestead, you already know that there are more projects that you can ever do in a lifetime. For those of you who are thinking of going to a homestead, understand that you will never be done. There are things that need to be done yesterday, last week, last month, God help me, some of them last year, that just aren't a big enough problem yet. For example, this just happened. and I need to get the automatic waterer back up for the chickens because right now they're getting water out of a kiddie pool, which is right over there, and one of those old steel waterers. If you guys have chickens, you know what I'm talking about. Big, looks like a top hat. Neither of which works particularly well when it's below freezing, which it has been here. Again, this is December. It's the week between Christmas and New Year's. 29th today, actually. So I'm still in a t-shirt, but it is getting a little bit chilly as the sun's starting to go down. 3 o'clock, you're starting to lose light already. So it's yeah, going to be putting stuff back on since I've been taking it off all day. But 2 days ago, the low was like 12, and it barely broke 33 degrees for the high. And now 3-4 days later, I'm in shirt sleeves. So gotta love the South. I do get a bunch of questions on why do I carry a handgun all the time. I don't talk about it a lot, but I've obviously got it all the time. This is a 1911 style 45 caliber pistol. It is loaded, cocked and locked, which means the hammer is back and the safety is locked in the on position. For those of you unfamiliar with firearms, you have to take the safety off, you have to grip the grip safety, and then obviously pull the trigger. So that's 3 things you got to do to make this gun shoot. So for a carry gun, it's completely safe. Now, why do I carry it all the time? Around here, I have chickens, obviously, that's why I'm doing this. And we have wild dogs, feral dogs, neighbor dogs, dogs running around. Coyotes, other kind of critters, occasionally a bear. But by and large, our chickens have been decimated by dogs. And so I carry my pistol because it may be the only thing I have with me when a dog tries to go get my chickens. And I'll give a dog 1 round warning. I tend to put it in the dirt just in front of it so it both hears the noise and then sees the impact. And if he veers off, well, he'll live to see another day. If he doesn't, second round is going to kill him. That's just the way it is here in the country. I can't afford my chickens to be torn up by some dumbass dog that, you know, whether he's owned by the neighbors or he's running around starving, doesn't matter. If he's killing my chickens, he's taking food out of my family's mouth, and that just isn't going to happen. And that's the way everybody understands life out here. So, and to that end, I typically keep the first round, when it's in the chamber, as a hollow point frangible, which if you're not real familiar with bullets and how they're made, the average bullet is lead. Fancy bullets have a copper gilding metal coating on top of it. That's why they seem so shiny. But it's typically lead on the inside, that coppery stuff on the outside. And then hollow points will have a hole in the end so that they'll expand. Well, a frangible bullet is made kind of like you make an aspirin. It's called sintering. You just squeeze metal powder really, really hard until it holds a shape. And in this case, they put a gilding metal coppery thing around it, leave the front end of it open so it's a hollow point. So it acts like a hollow point when it hits something like a dog, but if it hits something solid like a rock, it just splatters. I mean, pieces, shatters. And those little lightweight pieces don't go very far, and they just kind of fall on the ground. So frangible bullets are really handy if you're shooting somewhere that you might accidentally hit something solid. And for example, if I'm tracking a moving dog, there may be a rock behind him that I didn't see because I'm focusing on the dog, and I don't want the chance that a jacketed, what they call hard-nosed bullet, is going to bounce off that sucker and ricochet somewhere else. That's a bad idea. So frangible bullets around the homestead are really, really handy. Unfortunately, they're not as popular as they used to be, and they're really hard to find. But if you can get them, you know, you might want to consider. But anyway, that's why I carry a gun. I'm not worried about the, you know, commies coming over the hill or something like that. It's just practical. There are things out here that kill my chickens, and I got to kill them first. So that's it. So anyway, Cold Warrior 78 back on the homestead. Get out there, grow something, raise something, get some food to come up out of the ground for you. You'll really enjoy it. Signing off. Bye-bye.